Say what you want about Vince McMahon, but he will always put his business first. Clearly very good at dealing with personal issues and putting them to one side, there are countless examples of McMahon welcoming folks back into the fold even after quite serious fallings out. He doesn't hold a grudge, or if he does, he doesn't let it control his life. That's not bad advice. There's always going to be exceptions to this rule though, because that's just how things work. Even Vinnie Mac is gonna have his level, and when you find it, you may just be on the outs forever. I'm Simon from What Culture. Remember to smash that subscribe button. This is 10 wrestlers that Vince McMahon hasn't forgiven. Number 10, Lex Luger. In 1993, Hulk Hogan left the WWE. It was quite the story at the time, given the whole company had been built off his back, but such is the way. McMahon's response was to find another tonked up bodybuilder and just pass across the exact gimmick and hopefully carry on as usual. This person was Lex Luger. For multiple reasons, this didn't work out, but the drop-off was still crazy. Lex went from potential main eventer to back in the mid-card, and WWE cared so little about him, no one even realized his contract expired in 1995. Luger was a free man, and he was so fed up of this treatment, he jumped to WCW for less money. This relationship had gone downhill quicker than Mojo Rawley disappeared from TV, especially because when he walked out on the first ever Nitro, no one backstage in WWE was ready for it. It was a huge surprise. For some reason, McMahon never forgave Lex for this, which is likely why in 2001, when he bought World Championship Wrestling, the former narcissist wasn't offered a deal. This worsened when Luger got involved with Miss Elizabeth before a drug habit tragically ended her life quicker than it should have done. The blame, it seems, was placed on Lex's shoulders. Luger's own life would spin out of control when a spinal stroke left him paralyzed, and even though the two have worked together on some video projects, he's still persona non grata when it comes to WWE. We'll probably never see him on Raw or SmackDown again. Number 9, Scott Steiner. Big Papa Pump's final run with WWE from 2002 to 2004 wasn't that great. A feud with Triple H was meant to set him up for the long haul, but instead it went the other way. None of this worked, and the blame was put on Steiner. Obviously. Moved down to the mid-card and then the tag team division, he was let go just as he was going through a foot injury that was going to require major surgery. That wasn't really the straw that broke the camel's back, however. Ever since Scott has walked away, he has taken every opportunity to run down the company and said some truly shocking things about the people who work there. One interview I did here on What Culture with the man left me stunned. His description of Stephanie McMahon is something I will never agree with or condone. Triple H has also got it in the neck time and time again, and you gotta figure Vince McMahon is well aware of this and has put Steiner on the no-no list. Can't really blame him either, that's his family. You shouldn't mess with that. Number 8, Alberto Del Rio. The first Mexican-born WWE champion, a Royal Rumble winner, the owner of Money in the Bank. No one can say Alberto Del Rio wasn't given a fair crack of the whip when he was employed by the WWE. That didn't stop the two from falling out quite badly time and time again. The first came in 2014. Fired in August for slapping a member of staff after racist comments, he was brought back into the fold in 2015 where he tangled with John Cena. Once again, it seemed like we were going all in with Del Rio, then it ended again. Alberto had a clause in his contract that allowed him to walk away if he wasn't happy with his spot, and he used that less than 12 months after his return for that very reason. He didn't think World Wrestling Entertainment were getting behind him properly. Since then, well, it's not been plain sailing. No showing many independent events and saying some truly crazy things about WWE and its management, there was also a toxic relationship with Paige which didn't do anybody any favours. Today he doesn't seem very popular with backstage officials, and his volatile nature has put him on the bad boy list. You can understand why. Number 7, Buff Bagwell. Buff Bagwell was fortunate when WCW died in 2001 because Vince McMahon liked how he looked. Given the rumours about how much knowledge the boss had of outside organisations, he likely didn't know much else about him, hence why he was put into the main event on Raw in July 2001 as he tangled with Booker T. As it turned out, this was sink or swim material, and it sunk to the bottom of the ocean. Years of WWE telling its fans that World Championship Wrestling was the enemy came back to bite them in the ass as the crowd attacked both men viciously to the point the match fell apart. There were boring chants, boos, and Bagwell in particular fell off his perch. He was clearly affected by all of this and it showed. Management wasn't impressed, and after telling Buff to have a week off, he was let go. Or at least that's what Bagwell says. The other side of the story is that Buff's mother Judy rang up, probably from a poll, and said he needed the week off. Imagine how that went down backstage. This clearly left a mark on McMahon because Bagwell's name has never been mentioned since. That is some way to leave. Number 6, Dusty Rhodes. Slightly controversial because, of course, not only did Dusty Rhodes go into the WWE Hall of Fame, but he also got a 10-bell salute after he sadly passed away, as he should have done. The American Dream was a legend. We even have a statue and the annual Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic tournament, so no one is suggesting that McMahon hated him. The two had known each other for years, and really no one could hate Dusty. He was too much of a character, and at least in terms of the modern day, was instrumental when it came to NXT's success. What we're focused on here is that the son of a plumber was synonymous with WWE's competition from before they took over the universe. For years, Rhodes was the NWA and WCW booker, or in the main event, and during that time there was no two ways about it. Vince saw it as a war. It's why in 1989, when Rhodes was brought into the then WWF, McMahon had him dressed in a polka dot singlet and basically play a joke version of himself. Also why in 1995 his son Dustin became Goldust. I mean, that character would go on to much bigger things, but it began with this idea that Vince wanted to take another shot at Dusty. Again, that's not to say he didn't like them, but Rhodes was always stuck in the mid-card when he worked under Vinnie Mac and suffered a whole lot of ribbing. That's just the way when you were actively involved in trying to take him down. Number 5, Colt Cabana. Scott Colton's history with the WWE was reasonably neutral up until around winter 2014. Between 2007 and 2009, he'd worked in OVW and FCW, and for a split second even popped up on the main roster. Even after all that, he left on pretty good terms. People backstage would vouch for him. But when CM Punk chose his Best Buddies podcast to finally make an official statement about what had gone on between him and WWE over the last year, everything changed. You already know this story. It seems fair that two buddies would want to come together to chat about a huge wrestling issue, but Punk aired so much laundry during the two episodes that they became far bigger than anybody could have expected. Within the space of a few hours, Colt had been written into WWE's banned books. It resulted in a World Wrestling Entertainment-backed lawsuit against Punk and Cabana, which caused 3 years of stress and destroyed their friendship. They also banned all WWE talent from appearing on Cabana's podcast in the future, and supposedly banned him from visiting friends backstage. Without doubt, one of the most influential independent wrestlers on the scene, Cabana is fine regardless, but still, this all ended up far worse than I think anybody expected, and really, it is very upsetting. Number 4, Tully Blanchard. Tully Blanchard was able to piss fans off with a single look. He also knew how to wind them up with a well-thought-out promo, and he was never considered a cool heel. People just hated him no matter what the angle was. As with many wrestling personas though, there was an element of truth behind this because it said that Blanchard wasn't exactly good at making friends behind the scenes. He was just slightly difficult to get along with. After rang with Jim Crockett and Dusty Rhodes over pay, Blanchard and tag team partner Arn Anderson joined the WWF in late 1988 as the Brainbusters, where they worked fantastic matches with the Rockers and Demolition. Leaving again after Survivor Series 1989, having negotiated a return deal to WCW, Blanchard failed a test for cocaine and therefore was fired early. When World Championship Wrestling found out, they also refused to hire him and cut Anderson's offer, which of course then led to a falling out between those two as well. Tully would leave wrestling shortly after when it became apparent that nobody would hire him. Although he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2012 as part of the Four Horsemen, he couldn't pass the interview stage with WWE to get a job as a trainer or an agent. Many suspect it was Blanchard's reputation for being troublesome that screwed him up, and that's why he makes this list. Number 3, CM Punk. We all know this story and it's been debated forever. CM Punk walked out on WWE in January 2014 over how he was treated, and you either agree with him or you don't. I know. The only thing that we can come together on is that he probably burned his bridge with Vince McMahon, definitely with Triple H. Now the counterpoint to this is that some use this situation as an example of just another wrestler butting heads with the boss, and that eventually it'll be fine. They look at Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, the Ultimate Warrior, all came back to the fold, so yeah, we should never say never, but there's a slight difference here in the sense that nobody seems to be as proud as CM Punk. When he talks about wrestling, it truly sounds like he's done with it, and that stepping back into a WWE ring is of no interest to him, and that does work out. The Hitman had unfinished business, Warriors falling out was mostly just due to a lot of shouting, and Hogan would always go where the money was. As for Punk, well, it's been 6 years, and he hasn't even blinked and has also found success elsewhere. WWE is not his be-all and end-all. This could always change, but you'd have to guess a lot of conversations would have to happen beforehand, and I'm not sure we're ever going to get that. Maybe he'll go to AEW, and then everybody's dreams will come true. Number 2, Brad Maddox. I really liked Brad Maddox back in the day, don't know why, but I thought WWE could have done more with him and thought it was a shame when he just vanished into dust. At one point there was a glimmer of hope though. Maddox did enough to get himself onto TV for a good year, but when that character had run its course, he needed a repackage if he was ever going to keep going, and he never got it. Instead, details of an affair with Paige back in developmental came to the forefront. You know what I'm referring to, and the situation changed drastically. We never found out where the tied-in clips came from, but it didn't serve Maddox very well internally at WWE HQ, especially when you remember what happened to the NXT title. Few superstars would have a chance after this. I don't think we'll be seeing Brad anytime soon. Number 1, Nails. Arriving in the WWE in early 1992, Kevin Schultz became Nails, a convict with a grudge against the Big Boss Man. I love early 90s wrestling. So stupid, so brilliant. For a while too, it seemed like the ex-con was gonna get a big push as well. He did lose to the Big Boss Man at the Survivor Series, but he was scheduled to feud with The Undertaker, and unbelievably, fans weren't against that at all. In fact, they were quite intrigued. Clearly, Nails himself wasn't all that satisfied, because around this time there was some kind of financial dispute between him and Vince McMahon, Schultz just lost it. Cornering Vince in his office, he also choked him, somehow thinking this would get him the extra money he wanted. You'll be shocked to hear he was wrong. It took Sergeant Slaughter and a bunch of agents to drag him off, but we weren't done. Nails then rang the police and said he wanted to press sexual assault charges against McMahon, because that's the reason as to why he attacked him. All of that was dropped, but good old Kev carried on this explosion when he testified against Vince during the steroid trial. His hate for the CEO was so strong, however, his testimony was seen as anything but credible, and the jury didn't believe a word. Amazingly, it actually helped McMahon get off. I don't think Vince will ever see it that way though, and if Nails is ever brought back to the company, I will eat my own hand, because it will never happen. Ever. Know of any other wrestlers that Vince McMahon hasn't forgiven? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Then head over to WhatCulture.com and read yourself some articles, and follow What Culture on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. My name is Simon from What Culture, and I will chat to you again soon.